the North Sydney side. Here's Hollywood Greg Hartley, revved up this afternoon like you've never seen him before. He's going to bust a boiler. He's got the Tom Tits. Here he is, Greg Hartley, the mock of rugby league.
Coached by Tim Sheens, the Canberra side.
Oh.
Gary Belcher's the fullback. Paul Martin is on one wing along with John Ferguson on the other. Mal Meninga and Matthew Wood in the centres. Meninga is the captain. Laurie Daly's the 5'8", Ricky Stewart the halfback. Bradley Clyde the lock forward. Gary Coyne and Dean Lance are the two second rowers. Glenn Lazarus and David Woods are the two props. And Steve Waller's the hooker. And Billy Harrigan, the referee.
Who's the referee?
Billy Harrigan.
Bill Harrigan, the referee. Reserve grade 2 North Sydney by 14-8. And the under-21s going to Canberra by 12 points to 10. Let's check the lower grades around the grounds. Tony Peters.
Honours even out here. Western Suburbs won the reserve grade 20-18 against Canterbury, and Canterbury won the President's Cup by 34 points to 6.
Ross Allen in Newcastle.
In President's Cup, Eastern Suburbs 18 defeated Newcastle 12, whilst in reserve grade the two teams fought out a 6-all draw.
Mark Cashman at the football stadium.
One each here. South 14 defeated Manly 2 in President's Cup, while in reserve grade Manly 22 defeated South Sydney 12.
Brian Surtees at the Wollongong Showground.
Where it's 2-0 to Penrith. They won reserve grade over Illawarra by 10 points to 4 after earlier winning the President's Cup by 16 points to 10.
Okay, and just repeating, over in Palmerston North in New Zealand, Gary Schofield has kicked a field goal for Great Britain to break a 10-all deadlock, and it was Great Britain 11 beating the Kiwis 10 in the first rugby league test at Palmerston North in New Zealand. Let's go down to our sideline eye, Tony McGay.
Well, they'll react to the pressures of yesterday and last night, the Raiders. The wins by Brisbane and Balmain will see them fire up. Interesting to note, no fresh reserve for the Raiders. Mark Lowry played in the reserve grade game, so Canberra, an air of confidence.
Okay, so the Canberra Raiders today very much looking to go back to the top of the Winfield Cup. It's currently Brisbane in that top position, but Canberra, if they win today, will regain the lead in the Winfield Cup. Most people expect them to do, but stranger things have happened. Good crowd here at North Sydney Oval this afternoon. Can the Bears lift their game from last week? Mal Meninga, the captain of the Raiders, now captain of the Australian Test side following Wally Lewis's injury yesterday at Cogra Oval. So it's Mal Meninga today leading the Canberra Raiders, and he will lead Australia against France in Parks on Wednesday. And a good crowd here at North Sydney Oval. Let's just get the last few moments of the national anthem. Okay, there it is, North Sydney to defend the northern end of the ground. The Canberra Raiders, the Sydney Harbour or southern end of the ground, and there's lap number 5 for Bobby Smith, the Minister for Sport, just going past us again here at North Sydney Oval. Strange that he hasn't been introduced to the crowd. I wonder why. Okay, here we go with the kick-off.
Conlon now getting it underway with a kick deep down into Raider territory, taken to by Gary Belcher, right back on his own line, manages to get up some 11 metres or so before he's knocked to the ground by Soden. He plays it back to Waller's, good pass across to Bradley Clyde, nearly getting up to his own quarter line and put down over the top by Peter McPhail. Back to Waller's, he gives it out now to Lazarus, struggling to get to his own quarter line, looked to offload, but Paddy Jarvis over the top of him to put him away. Waller's once again a dummy half, gives it across to Woods charging forward, and that's David Woods, one of the two Woods in the Canberra side this afternoon. He gets outside of the quarter line, back to Waller's again, good pass out to Laurie Daly, and Martin up very quick, he gets around him, but then over the top comes French. The ball has been put to the ground. The referee says play on, and immediately Adrian Toole picking up for North Sydney. Now he's going to play it back to Billy Moore, sends it across to Soden, out wide it goes to Fairley. Fairley tries to fend off one or two. Clyde's got hold of him, and Meninga over the top also, as he's pulled down 8 metres out from the Canberra goal line. Played to Peter McPhail, he gives it across to Paddy Jarvis. Jarvis going forward, still 2 metres out from the quarter line. He'll get up to play the ball, it goes to Soden. Good pass across now into the arms of Sinclair, and he's put down just a shade into the quarter area. It's played to McPhail across to Conlon. Conlon chases for the corner, but again he's knocked to the ground over the top by Dean Lance. Now it's played McPhail, giving it across this time to Martin. Martin puts a high kick up. I've lost the ball above the stand, all up for it, but taken by the Canberra side. About 11 metres out from the Raiders goal line. A good take by Ricky Stewart too, as the ball is played now straight into the arms of Paul Martin racing away. He's centre field, 15 out from his own line, and we see now going charging forward that time was Lazarus. He's going to get up to play the ball. Wallers is a dummy half from that position. He offloads back to David Woods, and Woods knocked down just outside of his own quarter line centre field. Plays it back again to Wallers, sends it across to Ricky Stewart. A change of possession sees now Gary Belcher kicking the leather well and truly downfield. Conlon back there on his Pat Malone. Right back inside of his own quarter line. He picks up the football to go for a run. And very quickly up Matthew Wood to take him to 30 metres out from the North Sydney goal line.
2.5 minutes gone at North Sydney Oval. 0-all on the Mitsubishi Electric scoreboard. Good play by North Sydney early in the game, putting pressure on this Canberra Raiders side. Canberra, though, very classy outfit. The way they clear the ball from their own goal line is thoroughly professional. Here's a good run from Fairley. His second good run in this opening minutes here at North Sydney Oval. Good crowd in attendance. North's now reply in kind. A kick downfield by Soden, and this forces the winger on the far side of the field, Paul Martin, back, and he's picked up now by this eager beaver North Sydney defence. Sideline eye, Tony McGay.
Blair's one of their strengths, the Raiders. Stewart pressured for the kick, straight back to Belcher.
Okay, out wide now from Laurie Daly to a player in support there in the centre position, Matthew Wood, and he's put down.
Yes, Dean Lance now going forward for the Canberra side, but well and truly put to ground. Mal Meninga's a dummy half. He bypasses Coyne, decides to go on his own. Picks up valuable yards too for the Raiders. He's pulled to the ground that time by Paddy Jarvis. Back now to Wallace to Ricky Stewart. Again getting a long high punt downfield. Conlon still back there on his own with no wing support within 8 metres of his own goal line as he picks this one up. Oh! Over the touchline. Bent down to pick it up, and it just beat him 8 metres out from his own goal line.
What a magnificent kick by Ricky Stewart. That is a ripper. It's gone 70 metres down the field, and Conlon out of position, too far up, too slow to get to it, and in the end, he just let it go over the sideline. Sideline eye, Tony McGay.
He's gone to sleep, Kelly Egan. He mustn't watch the video. No support at all. He just strolled back.
Yeah, okay, and here's the scrum going now, a few metres out from the North Sydney goal line, but it's a Bears feed on the little fella. Soden almost knocked on. He's picked up by Bradley Clyde and then put down by none other than Dino Lance.
Yes, and going away now fairly again from the back of the ruck. Egan, is it, Peter?
Egan,
it
is, Greg.
He's up the plate once again. And a palm off once again to the North Sydney player. McPhail, he'll get up to play the ball. Adrian Turl from the back of the ruck tries to go forward. Canberra inside the 5. He's pinched Mal Meninga. He's gone straight across to where Meninga was standing for the pinch.
4 minutes gone on the Mitsubishi Electric scoreboard. No score here at North Sydney Oval for Footy Tab. Let's check them around the grounds. Tony Peters.
No score, Western Canterbury.
Ross Allen.
No score, Newcastle and Easts.
Mark Cashman.
South 4, Manly 0.
Brian Surtees.
No score, Penrith Illawarra.
Okay, and there is a rugby test between Australia and France. We'll check on that one as scores come through. Pat Jarvis takes it up for the Bears.
Strong run too, but knocked down by Big David Woods. It's played to McPhail across to Soden again. He stops, gets off the mark, races through, finds a gaping hole in their defence. Turns the ball back now to Pat Jarvis. Tries to go over the top, but the North Sydney player coming through dived forward to take that football, but it was the old man, Chicka, getting to the ball first, as we see now. Stewart trying to race away. He dummied, changed his mind on the kick too as he plays it now. Goes across to Coyne. Coyne going to be wrapped up on his own quarter line, more or less in the centre of the ground. Waller's now dummy half and a pinch too. The Canberra side against North Sydney. And he's saying get off the man, was he not?
Yeah, he certainly was. In the play the ball, and referee Bill Harrigan, no problems with that one. He blew his whistle, and the North Sydney players go back to their position. After 5.5 minutes of play, 0-all on the Mitsubishi Electric scoreboard, and only one score around the grounds at the moment. That's Souths 4 leading Manly 0 at the football stadium. Here's Big Glenn Lazarus over the halfway mark. Gee, he had a good game in that third State of Origin game. He's a fine young player. I think you'll see him on the Kangaroo Tour, and how Norths handle him today is going to decide, I think, just how far they're going to go towards an upset victory.
David Woods up now to play it to Wallace. He looks back inside for Coyne. Showed it to Bradley Clay, but offloads now out to Lance. Lance charging downfield, beautifully taken by Soden around the legs. We'll play it again now to Wallace. He sends it across to Ricky Stewart. A long torpedo-style pass to Daly, then on to Meninga. Meninga holds it up this time for Belcher. Out it goes to Matthew Wood. Back inside this time to Martin. Martin down to the North Sydney quarter line.
Classy stuff by Canberra there, standing deep, running onto the ball. Excellent stuff. Whenever Belcher comes in, something happens.
Back now to Mal Meninga off a Daly pass, and Big Mal now only 9 metres away from the Bears goal line. One tackle left to go, says the referee. He plays it now to Martin across this time to Stewart. He puts pressure on with a high kick. It looks like being a good one. Jigger Ferguson's over there. Oh, Bradley Clyde's gone up to take it. He's put it to ground, and North Sydney come up with the football. And it was a good take by French as he quickly plays it now to Martin, and Martin immediately put to ground.
Some teams kick and hope. Canberra kick and they know where it's going. A beautiful bomb there by Ricky Stewart. It landed up just a couple of metres in front of the uprights, and it put a lot of pressure. Good take by French. Norths are going well this afternoon because this Canberra side is looking very, very smart. 7.5 minutes gone at North Sydney. 0-all on the Mitsubishi Electric scoreboard. Fairley goes up almost to the quarter line for the Bears.
Getting up now to play it back to McPhail, a dummy half. He gives a long ball back once again to Soden, who clears that quarter area. Not a great kick. Nevertheless, it's turned the fullback around Gary Belcher. He takes possession, tries to beat one or two, manages to do that too, turns it back now to Ferguson. He takes off down the centre of the ground. Oh, and picks up 30-odd metres for the Raiders. A good tackle too it was by Soden to stop the run. Wallace across to Stewart. Good pass out wide to Clyde. Keeps it alive through Big Mal Meninga running onto the ball. Back it goes now to Matthew Wood. He's picked up and given a right serve on the far side by Hall. Young David Hall, a good tackle, but now it goes to David Woods out for Stewart, then on to Laurie Daly again. Daly turns the ball back inside to Gary Belcher. He carves him right up down the centre of the ground. Back down to Ricky Stewart, still going. Stewart's going to score. Oh, great try. Talk about complacency, none in this side.
Yeah, brilliant try there by Ricky Stewart. Canberra on fire there for a few minutes before they grabbed that try, and it was Stewart who pinned his ears back. Meninga standing in the tackle, got the ball to Matthew Wood. Wood was tackled around about 30 metres out from the North Sydney goal line. To dummy half went David Woods. It went from Woods out wide to Laurie Daly. Daly turned the ball back inside to Gary Belcher. Belcher steamed upfield, then turned it back inside to Ricky Stewart, and Stewart had support on the outside in Ferguson, and the winger for North Sydney, David Hall. He didn't come in at all, and he stayed out, and it was a bad missed tackle from him, and also one from the North Sydney front row forward, Pat Jarvis, and they just mesmerised them there, and it was a great try to Ricky Stewart, and the Raiders lead by 4-0, and if they play that sort of football, Norths won't get near them.
Okay, now the kick to be taken, of course, and it's young Matthew Wood for the Canberra side. He's about 25 metres out, some 5 metres in from the touchline. Difficult angle for him. Oh, jeez, he got it about 4 foot off the ground.
Yeah, an awful kick, that one. Wonder why Meninga's not kicking this afternoon. Obviously worried about his left knee. He's got it strapped, and that could be a problem. Sideline eye, Tony McGay.
And what about Gary Belcher too? He kicked 200 points one season, but certainly you're not even safe with the clearing kick. He links so brilliantly with his wingers, Belcher.
Yeah, he certainly does. Let's check the scores for Footy Tab. Around the grounds on the Mitsubishi scoreboard. Tony Peters.
Western Suburbs 4, Canterbury 0.
Okay, Ross Allen in Newcastle.
No score between Newcastle and East.
Mark Cashman.
South 4, Manly 0.
Brian Surtees.
Illawarra 6, Penrith 0.
Ian Trent.
Australia 6, France 0 at Ballymore.
Okay, back at North Sydney Oval now. It's the Canberra side in possession.
Bradley Clyde taking it up strongly, 15 metres out from the Canberra goal line. Playing it now back again to Wallace, hits it up to Lazarus, who goes forward in a very strong bust too, right up towards his own quarter line. Once again, Wallace is a dummy half, and from that position, he races away, tried to get a pass back to Meninga, but changes his mind. He'll play it now to Big Mal at dummy half. He sends a good pass across to Stewart, harassed this time, but still managing to get his kick downfield. A good-looking one too. Again turning Conlon around to chase back into his own quarter line. Plenty of defence up there. Coyne comes in, good tackle down low, and he's made over the top, and Dean Lance, they didn't miss him, as we see Kelly Egan trying to get away now. He makes it up to the North Sydney 30-metre line before he goes down. Good tackle that time it was from David Woods, but a penalty against David Woods. Get off him, holding down, says referee Harrigan. 32 metres out from the Bears goal line. They get a penalty, and Little Martin comes up to kick for touch.
How big is David Woods, the former...
He's a giant.
The former Western Suburbs player. He really has bulked up. There's a big crowd here at North Sydney Oval. They've come in at around about 3 this afternoon, and it's a terrific crowd. The Bears trail by 4-0, and they need desperately to get some points on the board.
McPhail across to Soden. McPhail on the wraparound. He can do nothing. He is immediately put down 40 metres out from the Canberra goal line. Soden again across, this time to Conlon, hits it up. He picks up 10 for the Bears. But again, 3 of the big Raiders over the top, and he goes to ground just outside now the Canberra quarter line. It's back to McPhail, across to Soden. Good pass across now to David Fairley. He offloads once again to Soden. Picks up Paddy Jarvis, having a bit of a sleep out wide, but he's immediately wrapped up Pat. This time Daly's over the top of him, and young Bradley Clyde down low. Martin from the back of the ruck tries to duck under 1 or 2. Daly again around his legs to pull him down in company with Lazarus. Gets up to play the ball forward. Immediately from that position, he gets a high kick up. Belcher going back for it. Oh, and up graceful as ever. Gary Belcher beautifully taking it 10 metres out from his own goal line.
Good play by North there to put a bit of pressure on, but you're kicking bombs to the greatest fullback in rugby league today. Gary Belcher, he's worked hard to get that tag. He's got it now, and the man deserves it. 4-0 to the Raiders over the North Sydney Bears at North Sydney Oval after 12 minutes of play.
Walters again back to Lazarus, and the big man goes up to his own quarter line, goes to ground with Fairley's tackle. Walters again from the dummy half. Bad marker defence that time from the Bears. He picks up another 11 metres or so with one left to go to the Raiders. Lazarus getting it back once again to Stewart, and a long driving kick downfield forces Hall to go back. He takes that well, the youngster, right back on his own quarter line, but he can't beat the tackle of Ferguson over the top, ball and all. He'll play it now to Conlon, sends it inside this time to Moore charging forward, but he's going to be wrapped up 9 short of the halfway line in his own territory.
13 minutes gone, 4-0 to Canberra over North Sydney at North Sydney Oval on the Mitsubishi Electric scoreboard for Footy Tab. Let's check them. Tony Peters.
Western Suburbs 4, Canterbury 0.
Ross Allen.
Newcastle 6, leading East 0.
Mark Cashman.
South 4, Manly 0.
Brian Surtees.
Illawarra 6, Penrith 0.
Okay, North Sydney still in possession. They're in Canberra territory.
Soden with a kick down Furlish, turn Martin around for the chase. Belcher across there, running like a gazelle, and immediately he's pulled down right on his own quarter line. Martin on his own at dummy half sends a long one to Ricky Stewart. Another long pass over to Daly. He offloads out to Bradley Clyde in the centre position that time, but pulled down over the top by Martin and Fairley. Plays it back to Matthew Wood, gives it out to Dave Woods, and he travels forward right up to the 30-metre line, still in Canberra territory. Again, Walters is a dummy half to Lazarus, charging forward, 3 Bears in over the top, and he eventually is back slammed 10 short of the halfway line. Still in Canberra territory, it's with Walters, sends it across to Dean Lance, out to Daly. Daly, good pass across to Matthew Wood, but he's going to be wrapped up out wide by French. A strong tackle too it was. Now it's Johnny Ferguson, a dummy half to Daly. Daly gets a kick in downfield. It's going to be no. Conlon takes it beautifully. 15 out from his own goal line. Goes across field, gets rid of one, and it was Wallace he palmed up, but Wallace chases from behind, brings him down. 30 metres out from the North Sydney goal line. McPhail a dummy half to Adrian Till. He hits it up strongly till he comes to David Woods, and he's put down. McPhail a dummy half again, this time out to Paddy Jarvis, and a strong bust up the centre of the ground, nearly to the halfway line by Jarvis. McPhail a dummy half again, this time out to Sinclair Racing, now into Canberra territory, only a couple of metres over the halfway line. This game running well now for the North Sydney Bears. Some pattern forming as we see a kick downfield by Martin, and this time Belcher, the ball comes up off the upright, straight back into his arms. He chases, and Soden gets him, and a good tackle it was too, 11 metres out from the Canberra goal line.
15 minutes gone at North Sydney Oval. Sideline eye, Tony McGay, 4-0 to the Raiders.
Well, they're making them play North. They're hanging in pretty well. They're going to force the Raiders to produce.
Yeah, they certainly are. Good effort so far. Good game here at North Sydney. Big crowd, and they're seeing a terrific game of football. Here's the Raiders now. Up over their quarter line goes Big Woods, the front row forward.
Back it goes now across to Ricky Stewart, out to Bradley Clyde again. Comes inside Adrian Till, gets rid of him, but McPhail dives around the legs to pull him down. Now they've got one left the Canberra side in the tackle count. Ricky Stewart elects to again get out out of that area. Oh, it's a darn good kick. It's a bloody good kick. 8 metres out from the Bears goal line. And again, Conlon caught in centre field.
Yeah, he was, Greg. The winger showing his inexperience there. He should have gone back there, but he can kick you off the park, this fellow.
Sure can.
The thing about it is he's getting amazing distance with his kicks, and there's hardly any wind down there. He's just doing it, with sheer power and timing, and he is a wonderful kicker of the football. Scrum going down a few metres out from the North Sydney goal line. Sideline eye, Tony McGay.
Exactly right. No, there's no wind at all, Peter. He's just the most super kicker of a ball.
He certainly is. It's all in the timing. It's just like when you see a class golfer. It doesn't look a lot to be in the swing, but there's plenty of timing there, and that's where it comes from with Ricky Stewart.
Little Soden pinned down on tackle 1, 10 out from his own goal line. David Hall's going to be well and truly taken over the top that time too, but it's played, and it goes to McPhail from the back of the ruck. He tries to pick up an extra few metres before going to ground. He'll play it now to Adrian Till to Sinclair. Sinclair straightens up the attack and goes up towards his own quarter line. Had a look back. They said no, go to ground. Make sure they play the ball's correct. McPhail across to Jarvis again, picked up and driven into the turf. Good tackle by Glenn Lazarus. McPhail again a dummy half, straight back to Soden on his own quarter line. He got a good little kick too, this fella. He turns Gary Belcher around for the chase, right back into his own quarter line. Belcher picks it up on bounce 1. He's got Martin with him, couldn't use him, goes to ground on the far side. Florimo's tackle very effective. He plays it now to Martin across, this time to Meninga. Out wide it goes to Bradley Clyde, then to Daly. Daly tries to get around one. He does. He beats Martin, beats him a second time, picks up Bradley Clyde down up over the halfway line. And again, threatening now the Canberra Raiders.
Yeah, they're like a volcano about to erupt. They've got so many potent players out there that any number of them can just split you. Daly, they're looking for support, and it came in Clyde. Two magnificent young players who are the lifeblood of this side for the future, and I suspect the lifeblood of Australian Rugby League. They're going to be in international football for the next decade. They're so young and so good. Okay, penalty to the Canberra Raiders, and this could be a shot at goal for the Canberra side. It's 32 metres out. Let's wait and see. Meninga's coming across, and they're going to have a bit of a powwow to decide what's going to happen here.
Well, he's going to have the kick, I think, Mal Meninga. The touch judges are around.
Okay, it's 4-0 in favour of Canberra here after 18 minutes. Let's check them for footy tab on the Mitsubishi scoreboard. Tony Peters.
Western Suburbs 4, Canterbury 0.
Ross Allen in Newcastle.
East 8, Newcastle 6.
Mark Cashman.
Manly 6, South 4, and Matt Ridge 1 from 1.
Brian Surtees.
Illawarra 6, Penrith 0.
Ian Trent.
Australia 12, France 0.
Okay, back at North Sydney Oval. Shot at goal now. Penalty goal for Mal Meninga.
Yeah, he's 32 metres out, some 12 metres in from touch on the far side. A reasonably easy kick, but he didn't take that first one. Peter said it may have been because of the knee, which is dead set heavily strapped, but he's going to take this one. 2 steps back, Big Mal takes. Oh, it's a good-looking kick, but again, it's waved away, just waved away, but...
Okay, none out of 1 for Meninga, none out of 1 for the previous kicker in Matthew Wood. So, Canberra, no shots, no successful shots this afternoon. Sideline eye, Tony McGay.
No, I'm convinced Belcher's the best kicker in this side, a superior to kicker Meninga. I've seen him kick 200 points. I can't believe it.
Okay, so there it is from Tony McGay. Bradley Clyde now picks up this kick from the dropout, and he's tackled now 25 metres out from the Canberra goal line.
It took forever and a day to pick that up, Peter, but it goes now across to Dean Lance. He tries to make the bust. It's not on. 40 out now from the Canberra goal line. Back it goes to Waters. Good pass across to Coyne, then on to Meninga. Meninga offloads out to Wood, to the man on the far side, Paul Martin, I should say, as he gets up now to play it. Back to Wallace, across to Ricky Stewart, a long pass to Daly this time. He races through, puts the chip on, came off the legs of one, and Martin will come up with possession of the football on the halfway line for the North Sydney Bears. Now he plays it this time to Billy Moore, can't get away from Daly's tackle, which is low around the legs. 2 metres over the halfway line. McPhail a dummy half this time to Soden. A bit of a stop and a start off the right foot, but again picked up this time by Daly. And also Wallace. It's played to McPhail across now to Martin. Good pass out wide to Jarvis. Jarvis offloads to Florimo in a very difficult position. He manages to pick up another metre or so before he goes down. Peter McPhail again, a dummy from the back of the ruck. Oh, big Mal Meninga zooms in on him and puts him down just short of the quarter line. Florimo's a dummy half. It goes to Martin, to Soden. Soden right out now to French. French elects to kick downfield. Hall's on the chase, but there are 3 of the Raiders back there. Gary Belcher's there, and he's going to let it go out the back door.
Well, North Sydney are playing very, very well to the best of their ability, but it's not good enough to worry this Canberra side. They're lacking in enough brilliance to really worry Canberra when they get in that attacking position inside the opposition quarter. There were 3 players there who were willing to pass it before Ian French, the centre 3-quarter, kicked it, and it was a kick that put no pressure on Canberra at all. They've come out with a tap, and I'm afraid that North Sydney just haven't got the armour to match it against this Canberra side. It's like a good car in a race against a magnificent car that costs twice as much and has just got too much power.
Well, Canberra still in possession. Stewart giving it back this time to Wallace on a wraparound. Sinclair's there to put him away just short of the halfway line. He will play it again to Daly, a dummy half. He sends it across to Ricky Stewart. Out now to Belcher wide. He's got Matthew Wood out there too, but he gets it to Clyde. Clyde gets through one gap, but eventually he's taken by the shirt tail. Martin was the tackler. Belcher again sends it to Ricky Stewart. Was going to kick, changes his mind. Brings the football right up towards the halfway line. Changes possession.
Well, I bet he wishes he did kick there, Ricky Stewart. He had enough time and
Twice.
He didn't. Yeah, and he's been caught in possession with it. North Sydney, though, here's the little halfback, Soden, doing the work of the forwards. Running first man off the ruck and being swamped by big Lazarus and company.
Yes, and Martin now having a look to go forward too.
There's the 2 tiniest players in the side doing the work that the forward should be doing.
Well, this time we see Moore going forward, but he's going to be wrapped up over the top too. He'll get up the play at 35 out from the Canberra goal line. McPhail a dummy half to Soden. Out it goes to Martin to Florimo. He's got plenty of men out wide. Dreadful pass on. The young fella, David Hall, couldn't have been expected to take that. It went past French's head, and he tried to pick it up, and it went over the touchline.
22 minutes gone at North Sydney Oval. 4-0 to Canberra on the Mitsubishi scoreboard. Let's check them around the grounds. Tony Peters.
Oh, Western Suburbs on fire. Western Suburbs 10, Canterbury 0.
Ross Allen, Newcastle.
East 8, Newcastle 6.
Mark Cashman.
Manly 10, South 4.
Brian Surtees.
Illawarra 12, Penrith 0.
Okay, some funny score lines there. Here's Canberra away.
Martin, a good run. He's beaten 2 already. He's beaten a 3rd, but he can't get past Billy Moore. But he's down inside the North Sydney quarter line. Now, Daly's at 5/8. That sends it across to Stewart onto Coyne. Long past to Meninga. Quick hands on to Gary Belcher. Through the gap. Had support from David Woods, but he was a grass cutter. Pulled him down by McPhail. Now it's back. Oh, nearly an intercept by Snowden, but it goes out to Meninga. Then on to Ferguson. He's going to try
6 more tackles. They're in terrible trouble, Norths.
Ferguson up again to play at the Mal Meninga. He offloads straight out to Dean Lance. Oh, charges right to within a metre of the North Sydney goal line. He'll play it. Wallace is a dummy half. He sends a big one. Oh, it goes past Lazarus, who goes back to pick it up. Tries to make it immense. He kicks and he doesn't realise that was on tackle 2 from another 6. And Kelly Egan dives on possession for the North Sydney Bears, half a metre out from his own line.
I'm a rat for Glenn Lazarus, but I don't think he knew the count. I think you're right there, Greg. It was a silly kick on about the 2nd or 3rd tackle. Front rowers kicking, cut their legs off.
Back now to Kelly Egan from the back of the ruck. He's going to be knocked down some 10 metres out from his own goal line. Hands on hips now for the Bears. A big rug could go over the lot of them. McPhail's a dummy half. He gives it across this time to Fairley, hitting it up strongly. He's picked up 8 metres at least that time.
He's a good player, that kid. He's been out of form of sorts of late, but he's playing well. Here's a break by young Martin, but he's tackled now and put down 40 metres out, 30 metres out from his own goal line.
Soden from general play after that tackle. He gets a kick downfield, giving the Raiders again possession by Gary Belcher. He comes up, he's going to try and beat French, but he gives it back to Ferguson in a good position too. Ferguson picks up the 20 metres I just mentioned. He's on the halfway line. Back it goes to Daly, across, beautifully picked up by Bradley Clyde, across to Meninga. Meninga, a one-hand pass this time to Matthew Wood. He's got his legs cut from under him too by Florimo. Back now, it goes to Bradley Clyde charging forward, having a look on the outside. Don't know where Martin was then, but he arrived too bloody late. Gone back now to Martin, across to Coyne. Good pass this time to David Woods, and he's going to be chopped down 35 metres out from the North Sydney goal line. It goes across now to Ricky Stewart, wide to Daly again. Daly tries to link up out wide. A good pass on to Matthew Wood. He's through the gap. He looks back inside. And it's gone to Belcher. Belcher across this time to Stewart. Dummies. And a pass. It's gone astray, Peter, is it?
No, it's a forward, knocked on forward, and no try there. I thought it was nearly a double movement, but it's certainly no try by referee Bill Harrigan, and Canberra certainly pressing this North Sydney side, and North Sydney showing signs of opening up right at this moment. They should win this scrum though.
Yeah, scrum to go down 5 metres out from the North Sydney goal line. Soden with the feed for the Bears. They win it too. He picks it up, tries to go forward, but a wall there to stop him. Getting up the plate once again, it goes to Fairley towards the centre of the ground, but right up nearly to his own quarter line too. He's knocked to the ground. McPhail's going to be a dummy half. The call is on from Billy Moore, and he charges forward outside of his own quarter line. A strong burst. 2 Raiders over the top, then pull him to ground.
North Sydney forwards are holding their own against Canberra, but it's in the backs that they get in awful trouble. It's Ferraris versus Volkswagens out there, and that's where their problem lies. Their forwards are making plenty of ground up the centre of the rucks, willing and able, but it's the backs they've got problems. There's young Jason Martin kicking the ball downfield, straight into the hands of Gary Belcher, and this free-flowing fullback steps and weaves, but he's picked up by Pat Jarvis, 24 metres out from the Canberra goal line.
Clyde across to Daly. Daly another long one out to Meninga. Meninga had a look back inside, changes his mind, gives it to Martin. Martin off for another bit of a gallop on the far side, but he eventually is pulled down 9 short of the halfway line in Raider territory. Meninga a dummy half, and again Bradley Clyde to the fore. He takes 3 Bears to the ground with him. He'll play it just a shade over the halfway line. It goes now straight across to Ricky Stewart. Good pass back to Lazarus to Coyne. Coyne wrapped up again by Sinclair, 2 metres over the halfway line in Bear territory.
26 minutes gone, 4-0 to the Raiders. Daly in possession.
Shows it again to Belcher. Good pass it was too. Then back into the arms of Matthew Wood. He can motor too. This bloke, he's making every post a winner. Back it goes now to Wallers around 1. Gives it across to Lazarus again, who makes a bust like a centre. Turns the ball back inside, does he? Oh, gee whiz, it was a good pass straight into the arms that time of Wallers backing up down the centre. Meninga's a dummy half. He sends it across now into the arms of Ricky Stewart. He has a shot at a field goal.
Yes! He's got it. Has he?
Yes, he has.
Yeah, no doubt about
Well, you
it.
said yes. He's put his arm up.
Well, he didn't say yes. He put his arm up.
Yeah, but you said yes.
I said yes.
You were right.
You said he said yes.
I knew you were right.
Yeah, I'm always right. Field goal to Ricky Stewart, who scored the only try of the game. 5 points to nil on the Mitsubishi scoreboard after 27 minutes of play here at North Sydney Oval. It's Canberra 5, North Sydney 0. Stewart, a field goal. Sideline eye, Tony McGay.
They got their fingernails on the cliff edge, North, but they've still hung in one try. They'll cop that at half-time.
I'll bet they will. Let's check the scores for Footy Tab on the Mitsubishi scoreboard. Tony Peters.
Western Suburbs 10, Canterbury 4.
Ross Allen, Newcastle.
East 8, Newcastle 6.
Mark Cashman.
Manly 10, South 4.
Brian Surtees.
Illawarra 18, Penrith 0 and in shock.
Ian Trent.
Australia 18, France 0.
Okay, back at North Sydney Oval, it's 5-0 in favour of the Raiders over the Bears.
And the Raiders in possession, 40 out from their own goal line. It's gone now to Wall as a dummy half across to Dean Lance. Stewart comes into the attack, as does Daly now. Daly nearly through the gap. Beautiful pass, but it goes to ground, picked up by Ferguson. The referee said it had gone back. He steps away from 1 or 2, and Adrian Toole from behind comes in to knock him to ground. We'll get up the play. It goes across this time to Dean Lance again, but he is put down 40 metres out from the North Sydney goal line. Wallace across to Daly, to Meninga, wide it goes down to Clyde, and very wide, but he can't slip his pass that time to Gary Belcher, who would have overrun it anyway. One left to go to Big Mal Meninga. He saw the arm go up, gets a kick in downfield. Conlon comes across to pick it up 10 out from his own goal line and manages to get right up to the quarter before Bradley Clyde goes low to drop him.
11 minutes remaining in the first half, 5-0 to Canberra over North Sydney, and as Tony McGay just said, the North Sydney side will cop that scoreline. They've been struggling to crack this Canberra defence, and they haven't looked like doing it, but they're matching them in the forwards, and that's giving them a chance in this game. If they can hang in there and maybe score a try before the break, then this is going to be a tremendous finish to this game. If they can't contain these Canberra backs, though, it could end up with a very lopsided victory to the men in green.
One tackle left to go. Daly's made 3 hits in a row. He's made his 4th now on young Soden, and he's pulled him down. Change of possession. They couldn't get the kick in, and Daly harassed them. The last 4 tackles, he just harassed them.
He certainly did. He's a great competitor. Ball out wide now for Canberra.
Yeah, into the arms of Belcher, off a pass from Meninga. Oh, he has a look back for Martin, and he's not there. Martin now races into the dummy half roll. He sends it across to Gary Coyne. Back it goes to Belcher, then again to Meninga. This time Meninga makes the break, but he's pulled down. Desperation tackle by Sinclair around the legs. Back it goes to Wallace. Coyne hits it up strongly. Back to Wallace again. The pass for Meninga's been knocked down, and it's going to be a penalty. Big Mal, they had hold of his shorts. They had hold of everything, and he couldn't dive back on the ball.
Okay, and Bradley Clyde, I just noticed him over on that far sideline from where we're broadcasting, just a little bit concerned with a knee injury. That'd be a body blow for the young fellow. The Australian side has already lost their captain, Wally Lewis, this weekend.
Okay, and the kick now to be taken, and it's going to be this time from Walters.
McGowan on for the North Sydney side. We'll just check. I think Jason Martin has gone off for the... yes, he has. Jason Martin off. Canberra now attacking.
Yes, and it's Big Dave Woods, the man, going through like a bulldozer, 2 metres out from the North Sydney goal line. Now you'll get up there to Platt. Wallace is a dummy half again. Across to Daly, out to Big Mal Meninga, uses his body as a shield, but nobody coming through on it. North Sydney come up with the football, and it was McGowan, the man that did it. He's knocked down now, and we'll get up the Platt this time. It was hauled back. Now it goes to Adrian Toole, right up towards the 22-metre line. North Sydney into the ground. McPhail's a dummy half. He gives it across this time to Fairley, and he picks up a valuable 10 metres or so for the Bears. 29 metres out from the North Sydney goal line.
Jason Martin is in the head bin, Greg, so McGowan, the very spindly Englishman, is replacing him.
Back it goes this time to Soden, and again Soden getting his kick downfield. Turning Paul Martin around, back at his own quarter line. He starts to come across toward the centre of the ground. Gets a bit of speed up too. Tried to go over the top of Paddy Jarvis. Not too many do that. He didn't either.
Good game here at North Sydney Oval. 8 minutes out from half-time. Canberra 5, lead North Sydney 0. Let's check them around the grounds for Footy Tab on the Mitsubishi scoreboard. Tony Peters.
Western Suburbs 10, Canterbury 4.
Ross Allen, Newcastle.
East 8, Newcastle 6.
Mark Cashman.
Manly 12, South 4 with Mario Fennick in the sin bin.
Brian Surtees.
Illawarra 18, Penrith 0.
Ian Trent.
Australia 18, France 6.
Okay, back at North Sydney Oval, it's still 5-0, and Meninga's gone for a gallop.
Oh, again off a great pass it was that time from Matthew Wood, but he's going to be put down by McGowan. It's played to Wallace down the blind side. Gary Belcher goes for a hop. He offloads out to Dean Lance. And off Dino Lance. Look at him go. Still go on. A great pass out wide to Moore. Paul Martin. Well, Dean Lance, take a bow. The old veteran Zorba, sensational.
Yeah, and this young fella has a good winger, Paul Martin.
Yes.
He gets plenty of opportunities in this side. Up the blind with the Canberra Raiders. Belcher, every time he comes in, he creates havoc. Then the ball went to Dean Lance and he galloped. The old Newtown Jet got the ball outside. There was a hint of maybe a shade forward pass there in my book, but it was deserving of a try. The break was made. Belcher, beautiful pass to Dean Lance. He got away from Soden very easily. He gave the pass, which I think was maybe a touch forward, but the try scored by Paul Martin, and that try coming in the 33rd minute of the first half, and it's 9-0, and the floodgates could open here. This North Sydney side just haven't got the armour to contain the champions, the side to beat still in the Winfield Cup, and what a great game next Sunday when they play Brisbane at Lang Park. Ah, what a beauty.
Okay, the kick now to be taken. Laurie Daly is going to have a shot at this one from the quarter line, and he's about 8 metres in from the touchline on the far side. Zorba's bringing up his beautiful binoculars, compliments of OPSM, just to check it out. It is Daly, son.
It is Daly, and these are binoculars that I bought in, where did I get these?
You got them at OPSM down in George Street. That's where you got them.
I got them in Sausalito, didn't I?
No, you got them in George Street, Peter. And there's the goal from Daly. We're having a blue about the binoculars, which he did get from OPSM in George Street. 2 points to Laurie Daly.
Okay, magnificent conversion by the Canberra Raiders, 5'8". Daly, you're right, Greg. I did get them at OPSM in the city. Sideline eye, Tony McGay.
Well, what can't he do? Round the corner, 40 yards, straight over the black dot.
Yeah, magnificent kick by Laurie Daly. 1 out of 1 from him. And the scoreline here is 11-0 to the Canberra side over North Sydney. Let's check the scores around the grounds. Tony Peters.
Great Western Suburbs today. Western Suburbs 14, Canterbury 4, kick to come.
Okay, 14-4. Ross Allen, Newcastle.
East 8, Newcastle 6.
Mark Cashman.
Manly 12, South 4.
Brian Surtees.
Illawarra 18, Penrith 0.
Canberra in possession back here at North Sydney Oval. And a good run again from Dean Lance, hitting it up strongly. He's going to be knocked to the ground just short of his own quarter line. Up the plate, Walters once again a dummy, half offloading to Lazarus. Another strong run for that big fella, carrying it right outside of his own quarter line. Adrian Toole over the top. Back now to Wallace, to Ricky Stewart, out to Bradley Clyde trying to make the bust, but Doss Sinclair's tackle is a rip snorter, I'm here to tell you, as he plays it once again, this time to, it's Walters once again from the back of the ruck, but he's pulled down this time by Jarvis. Lazarus tried to go away, fell down, flicked it out the back to Ricky Stewart. Talk about luck too, playing a major role there. And the kick, it beats the man on the far side in Kelly Egan over the touchline, Peter. 12 metres out from the Bears goal line.
Well, aren't they a marvellous football side? Balmain coach Warren Ryan knows how good they are. They beat his side in extra time in last year's grand final, and he's having a good look at this game. He'll be giving his half-time view, and I know that he's a great admirer of this football side, and he hasn't seen anything today to change his mind. They are a super outfit. I think they're the side to beat, and I think that the Broncos at Lang Park next week will find just how awesome this football side is. Certainly the Bronx are going to have to buck a bit more than they did yesterday when they scraped home against St George 18-14.
Little Soden now being tackled by Gary Belcher. He was right up in the line. Florimo off for a bit of a run outside of his own quarter line. Oh, he's allowed to stand and offload to Kelly Egan coming through in support play, but he's pulled down now 32 metres out from the North Sydney goal line. It's played to McFarlane, across now to Adrian Toole. He's going forward very strongly too, but Gary Coyne stops him in his tracks. McFarlane dummy half to Soden, long pass out to Fairley. He gives another one to McGowan, goes without it, the big pommy, and Conlon is slaughtered by Mal Meninga. Scramble for the football, Fairley picks it up, but the referee says, nope, not happy, put a scrum down. Thank you, Billy.
Okay, so a scrum going down, and this is going to be a Canberra feed in a very dangerous position for the Bears. This is around about 24 metres out, right in front of the uprights. So they've got a centre aside here to choose from, and they've got Daly and Meninga on one side of the field, and Belcher standing up on the other. Which way do you go?
Scrum penalty, a scrum penalty. Now he's going to tell him, I don't want you facing the tunnel, I want you facing straight on. Don't worry about it. Don't care where it goes in and where it comes out, but when you pack, you go in square.
Can't agree with that.
Well, I'm not agreeing with it. I'm telling you what he's doing. And I don't agree with it either.
You know, if the scrums in the game today, it's who puts it in, wins it, and a penalty like that is not the norm. That spoiled, I think, a good game from Billy Harrigan this afternoon. Sideline eye, Tony McGay.
This Canberra side, they cover 2/3 of the football field with 2 passes, but people appreciate it. North's a big crowd to see them play.
Yeah, certainly. And North Sydney, gee, you can't doubt their their courage this afternoon, but they're just lacking in a bit of finesse, and you need it against this mob.
Fairly now just fending off one. He's going to have another bit of a run, but this time he can't get rid of Glenn Lazarus. He goes down. He'll get up the play at centre field. McPhail's a dummy half to Soden. Good pass once again to Adrian Till and wrapped up 40 metres away from the Canberra goal line. McPhail again a dummy half to Soden. Wide it goes down to Florimo. Cuts loose right through the gap. Good strong bust to it was from Greg Florimo, the skateboard kid, but he's on now. The Canberra quarter line. French is a dummy half to Soden. Wide it goes to McGowan. McGowan puts a chip over the top. Scramble for the football. And on the far side coming up with it was Paul Martin, I think. Yes, it is it? I'm trying to see it. A long way away it was. But now we've got Daly going through. Did he read signal 6 more then?
He certainly did, Greg. When he waves his hand above his head, that's what he's signaling. He's not a traffic controller at Mascot.
I got caught up with the ANZ sign, Peter. He's wearing blue and white, and that sign is blue and white. And
People,
I lost him.
I don't want excuses. I want answers. I want answers.
You got the answer.
Mate, there's only one thing you've lost, and it was supposed to be between your ears. But he gave you nothing.
Back it goes now into the arms of Bradley Clyde. He's wrapped up some 24 metres out from the Canberra goal line. Now it's back to Stewart. He turns his attention to Gary Belcher, and Belcher puts the football again well and truly downfield. Taken by Conlon, 31 out from his own goal line. Goes for a bit of a run up to the 40-yard line centre field before he's taken over the top by Laurie Daly. Now it's given into the arms of David Hall. He's going to be wrapped up and called upon to play it to McPhail. Nobody at home. Had a look around. Had to go on his own. And he carries the football up over the halfway line. A shade into Canberra territory. Soden races through the chip and chases on. But again, Belcher beautifully positioned to take the football for the Canberra side. And he's immediately put down just outside of his own quarter line.
11-0 in favour of Canberra over North Sydney. And we've got seconds remaining in the first half. Chicka Ferguson, Bobs, weaves. The Black Nureyev has put down just short of the 40-metre line in his own territory, and the boys go to the sheds. 11-0 to the Canberra side over North Sydney. Tries to Canberra by Paul Martin and Ricky Stewart. Ricky Stewart's kicked a field goal. Laurie Daly 1 from 1, none from 1 from Meninga, none from 1 to Matthew Wood. North's not on the board. The scrums are 4-1 in favour of North Sydney, and the penalties are 3-all. Let's get half-time scores around the grounds. 4-footy tab on the Mitsubishi scoreboard, Tony Peters.
Peter, we're still a minute or two out from half-time, but at the moment, West's are leading Canterbury by 14 points to 6.
14-6. Ross Allen, Newcastle.
Right on half-time. East 12, Newcastle 6.
Mark Cashman.
Just on half-time here, Manly 16, lead South Sydney 4.
Okay, Brian Surtees at the Wollongong Showground.
Yes, David Moon's just gone in for a try. It's Illawarra 22, Penrith 6, kick to come.
Ian Trent at the Rugby Union.
Australia 21, leading France 9.
Okay, so there's some interesting scores there around the grounds and in Brisbane, where Australia are playing France in the rugby. Let's go to Tony Peters at Campbelltown, where West lead 14-6.
Yeah, that's a half-time score too, Pete. Western Suburbs 14 have scored 2 tries, 1 each to Bobby Linda. Western Suburbs have scored 3 tries, my apologies. Western Suburbs 3 tries. Graham Mackay, Bob Linder, Jamie Ainscough and Graham Mackay have scored tries, and Jason Taylor has kicked 1 goal from 4 attempts. For Canterbury, Darren Smith scored the try, and Jamie Corcoran kicked 1 goal from 2 attempts. The scrums favour Western Suburbs 2-1, the penalties favour Canterbury 6-4. Well, an exciting Western Suburbs side thoroughly deserved their 14 points to 6 lead over a stunned Canterbury here at Campbelltown. This young Western Suburbs side are really a treat to watch. They were on the board after only 8 minutes when clever Steve Jackson sent a runaway Bobby Linda in to score. The Magpies were relentless in the opening stages. They were creative too, as centre Jamie Ainscough showed. He made the perfect break, kicked over the top, regathered to flash over under the post, and the huge crowd on hand here at Campbelltown went absolutely hysterical. But there was more to come. But spliced in between this was a determined solo effort by Darren Smith for Canterbury, who powered over to score a smart solo try, but put that down to a concentration lapse because the Magpies came back again soon after with a gem of a try. A long cut-out pass by Ivan Henjak found big winger Graham Mackay, who flashed over wide out. But as I predicted before the match, the big Western Suburbs forwards have taken control of this match, with Bobby Linder, the test forward, well in command for the moment. Cameron Blair, Brendan Tudor, Steve Jackson, Pat O'Doherty, the whole lot of them, all playing very strongly for a very enthusiastic, very eager Western Suburbs side who are really going to take some stopping in this match. So just repeating the half-time score, Western Suburbs 14, Canterbury 6, the reserve grade to West 20-18, President's Cup to Canterbury 34 points to 6.
Thanks, Tony. Ross Allen, Newcastle.
at Newcastle in front of a very good Newcastle crowd again, despite the fact that they're playing against the lowly placed Eastern Suburbs. However, a disappointed Newcastle crowd sees their team trailing at half-time, East leading by 12 points to 6. 2 tries to Eastern Suburbs, one by winger Rod Silver, the other by fullback Wayne Portlock. Kurt Sherlock has kicked a penalty goal and a conversion. For Newcastle, a try to Ashley Gordon and a conversion of that try by Marty Crecker to bring up their 6 points. It was a fairly lacklustre start to the match, and it was only after 11 minutes that Jeff Doyle looked like he was going to open the floodgates for Newcastle. They had by far the better of the game territorially. It was a smart move from a scrum base, worked on the blind side, where Jeff Doyle made the break about 22 metres out, found Ashley Gordon in support, and Gordon raced over to score underneath the post, and Marty Crecker converting that try. But instead of it looking like it might be a floodgates for Newcastle, it was the spark for Eastern Suburbs, because they bounced straight back. Only 3 minutes later, Kurt Sherlock was successful with a penalty goal after a stupid mistake by Tony Butterfield, who was penalised for pushing the marker away in the play the ball. That put Eastern Suburbs on the board, and almost from the kick-off, Eastern Suburbs forced their way up over the halfway mark. Paul Vaughton on the 22-metre mark put up a high kick. It was fielded just outside the try line beside the post by winger Rod Silver, and he was able to touch the ball down right on the line and score the try. It was converted by Kurt Sherlock, and that took East to an 8 points to 6 lead. Then from that point on, at around about the 16-minute mark, right through until just right on half-time, both sides attempted to open up play. They're attempting to throw the ball wide. In fact, Newcastle forward standing very wide in an uncharacteristic display. And this is, in fact, played into Eastern Suburbs' hands, because they've found some room to move and they've been able to keep the pressure on. And right on the half-time, Wayne Portlock scored a try after Paul Bush, the Eastern Suburbs 5'8", had made a break, tried to fire away a pass but was cramped up in the pass, and the ball went to ground. Newcastle just stood around and watched Wayne Portlock pick it up to dive over and score the try. It was not converted by Kurt Sherlock, and so East lead by 12 points to 6 at half-time. Newcastle have had the best of the penalties by 6 to 4, East leading in the scrums by 7 points to 6, and unless Newcastle can really lift their game in this second half, we're in for an upset here. Eastern Suburbs, who are trying very, very hard and not playing anything as attractive football, but certainly not making the mistakes that Newcastle are certainly in with a big chance of winning this game. In reserve grade, it was a 6-all draw between the two teams, whilst in President's Cup, Eastern Suburbs won by 18 points to 12.
Thanks very much, Ross Allen. Let's have a quick score from Ian Trent in the rugby.
Australia 21, France 15.
Okay, so a close one coming up there. Let's go to Mark Cashman at the football stadium.
Where Manly 16 leaves South Sydney 4 at half-time. For Manly, the tries have gone to David Ronson, Cliff Lyons and Matt Ridge, with Matt Ridge kicking 2 goals from 4 attempts. For South Sydney, their lone points have come from
McPhail, dummy half, back to Soden. Soden gets around Coyne, a pass across to Conlon, and Conlon kicks across field, bouncing across to the wing of Ferguson. He let it go straight past him. A very awkward bounce for Ferguson to pick up as the flag goes up some 8 metres over the halfway line in Canberra territory.
Yes, and Canberra really looking in this game to just boost their averages. 11-0 at half-time. I'm sure Tim Sheens wants them to show more determination late in the game. They've had teams really on the rack in recent weeks and let them get back into it in the second half through a slackening in defence. It happened last week when they led 20-2 against West and then won the game 26-20. I'm sure we won't see that today. Belcher throwing the dummy, then taking the tackle just short of the halfway mark, and it's Canberra now in possession. Oh, Bradley Clyde runs easily 10 metres into North Sydney territory on the burst.
Plays it now, back it goes to Meninga across this time to Dean Lance, has a look back, decides to go to ground with the football. Wallace again a dummy half, he sends it across to Stewart, out this time to Lazarus, he slips off the left foot and goes to ground, claimed by Sinclair. Up again to Wallace. Wallace across to Coyne. Dummies coursing through now, and he's through the gap, little Wallace. He looks out wide. Daly's there. Belcher was there. Meninga was there. But the arm goes up, the last tackle. Now Gary Belcher's a dummy half. He sends a long one across to Ricky Stewart. Changes his mind from the pass and puts a high kick up, coming to take this ball. Conlon goes up beautifully. Daly comes in across the top to take him 10 metres out from his own goal line. It's played now. And McPhail tries to race away from the dummy half once again on his own before he's knocked to the ground. This time it's played to David Hall. He manages to get up to the North Sydney quarter line before being put down. McPhail at dummy half gives it across to Paddy Jarvis, and Jarvis carries the football just outside of his own quarter line.
Dean Lance just receiving attention, but he's back on his feet. Canberra now having to defend as North Sydney up towards the halfway mark. This young fellow, David Fairley, not overawed today like some of his teammates. He's had a grand game for the Bears. But Mark Soden now puts his foot to the ball, and going back to get into the action is Chicker Ferguson.
Yes, back 10 metres from his own goal line. Tries to get up too. He fends off Soden that time. Can't get away from Adrian Till, who gets him from behind to pull him to ground, trapped inside of his own quarter line. Lazarus is a dummy half across to Clyde. Clyde racing forward. He picks up an extra few metres before he goes to ground.
Big game this young fellow this afternoon, Bradley Clyde. He's a workhorse, and he's got a test match on Wednesday, but he's managed to put that in the back of his mind. I repeat, I think Daly is very quiet today. It's not the Laurie Daly we know. I'm sure he can explode in the second half.
Back it goes out now to Matthew Wood. He takes off Larimo. Beautiful copybook tackle brings him down just short of the halfway line. Ferguson giving it across this time into the arms of Daly. Daly a pass across to Belcher. Gary Belcher coming back in and again making the break back. It goes to Daly again. Daly takes off. He gets a kick in. And he's been harassed, but it's going to go back into the in-goal area. We've got to try, and I think it's Chicker Ferguson.
Yeah, he's smiling. Old Chicker has looked up at the referee and said, I want that one. And it was a kick through by Laurie Daly. Just when I said that he needed to get into the action, he did. He made the break. He grubbered ahead, and it was a good grubber kick, and coming through from the wing position was Ferguson, and he got to the ball first. He beat Billy Moore there, and he looked up with a smile that said it all. And what a marvellous player he is. Daly started the move, and then Belcher carried it on. What a great player Belcher is. He got away from the defence, found Daly in support. Daly grubber kicked. He was put down, but coming through was Chicker Ferguson, along with Bradley Clyde, and Clyde, I think, pushed a North Sydney player out of the way, but the try has been awarded by referee Bill Harrigan, and it was deserving of a try, and that is now 15 points to 0 on the Mitsubishi Electric scoreboard in favour of the Canberra Raiders. Tremendous try, Ferguson, ever alert, and the veteran has gone through and been given the try.
Okay, Laurie Daly on the North Sydney quarter line, 20 metres in from the touchline on the far side of the ground. Magnificent rugby league.
Yeah, certainly is, and what a player he is. Warren Ryan looking at that try, and of course he brought him, had him at Newtown in 1980 and 81. Okay, Ferguson's try is not converted. That one, the shotted goal taken by Laurie Daly. That's 1 from 2 for him, and it is scoreline here of 15 points to 0. Let's check them around the grounds on the Mitsubishi scoreboard for Footy Tab. Tony Peters.
West 14, Canterbury 12, Terry Lamb on the field, Bob Linder off the field injured.
Okay, so that'll change that game. Ross Allen.
Newcastle have just scored a try. There's a kick to come. It's East's 12, Newcastle 10.
Okay, Mark Cashman.
Manly 16, Souths 4.
Brian Surtees.
Illawarra 24, Penrith 6.
Ian Trent.
Australia 30, France 15.
Okay, back at North Sydney Oval, it's the Canberra Raiders in possession of the football.
Yes, Lazarus showing it back to Coyne, changes his mind, and he picks up Wallace, who was also in support. He tries to make the bust. Soden misses him, still going right up towards the halfway line, and they're starting to cut loose now, the Raiders. It's played to Ferguson, across this time to Ricky Stewart to Daly. Daly a long pass, picks up Meninga coming through. McGowan tries to go hold of him, back to Daly again. A brilliant pass out to Paul Martin, flies down the touchline, gets a kick in down for Gary Belcher's going through. So is Conlon. Conlon's going to watch it go out the back door. Oh, and he was right on his hammer then, Gary Belcher.
He certainly was. Martin, I think he could have tried the lob pass over the top, but elected to kick through, and no try resulting. 15-0 to the Canberra side, and both their wingers have scored tries today, John Ferguson and Paul Martin. Ricky Stewart, the other one.
McPhail up with the tap now, gets it underway. Straight it goes back into the arms of Adrian Till. He's immediately pulled to ground. Good tackle by Stewart. Back to McPhail again, across this time to Sinclair. He's going to be wrapped up by David Woods, and a good strong hit it was too. Once again, McPhail a dummy half. He gives it across to Fairley. Fairley tries to go forward. Running across, Fairley's easily picked up, has lost possession of the football. They race through. The referee hasn't blown his whistle, but he's going to put the scrum down, no doubt in the world about that. It's going to be more or less in the centre of the ground, some 40 metres out from the North Sydney goal line.
Canberra 15, North Sydney 0, and the Canberra signs are there. They're flashing red at the moment for North Sydney. That's bad news for Australia that Bobby Linder's off at Campbelltown, because he's needed for Australia on Wednesday too. Tony Peters will check on that sideline. Eye Tony McGay.
Well, the Ferguson try might have been the rock that started the landslide. Canberra, the trick shots now, moving it around.
They certainly are. As a long pass wide to Daly. Daly props and gets the ball wide now to Matthew Wood, and he's tackled 40 metres out from the North Sydney goal line.
He will get up there to play it. Daly's a dummy half across to Bradley Clyde again. And Paddy Jarvis to the fore to make sure he goes to ground. He's up now to play it. Back it goes to Wallace. Across to Ricky Stewart. Another long pass out wide. This time to Gary Belcher. Can't get past Adrian Till. Yes, he can. Allowed to stand a little too long, but no support there for him that time as Paddy Jarvis comes over the top right in the halfway line to put him down. Stewart gives it across to Dean Lance trying to make the bust, and another strong tackle that time from Pat Jarvis, and Sinclair stops that run. Wallace gets away again from the back of the ruck. Serves up a long one for Paul Martin. Martin is taken, but he offloads back again to Wallace in support once again. This bloke's having a blinder, but eventually is pulled down. One tackle left to go just outside the Bears' quarter line. It's played now. It goes to Lazarus, out to Ricky Stewart, to Meninga. A long pass over to Daly. Daly stops, tries to come back inside. He does do that. Gives it back to Mal Meninga. He sidesteps one or two. A long pass up over the top. Ricky Stewart has knocked the football on. The referee picks the movement up to.
The intensity's gone out of Canberra. They're just starting to throw the ball around willy-nilly, and it'll work for them.
It sure will, like a game of touch. But now we've got poor little Soden. He's wrapped up by Gary Coyne and Lazarus. When I can pick him up, he's up to play it now. Back it goes to David Hall. He makes a bit of a bust too, the youngster on the wing. But he's pulled down about 11 metres short of the halfway line. McPhail serving one up to Faley, giving it across to Moore. Moore ducks under a swinging arm that time. And a good one it was too from Woods. Now it's gone across to Snowden, out to Florimo, back down to French to Florimo once again, tries to go down the centre of the ground. Eventually the defence of Canberra catch up with him and he goes to ground. Coyne and Wallace the tackler, 2 metres over the halfway line in Canberra territory. Soden serves one up outside for Fairley, then on to Moore. Moore trying to pick up support wide, but no one coming through. One tackle left to go to the North Sydney Bears. Sinclair trying to go back down the blind side again, gets a kick in too, and it's a successful kick, Peter.
Yeah, at least they've got inside the Canberra quarter, only just. They haven't been there many times this afternoon. 9 minutes gone in the second half. Canberra led 11-0 at half-time. It's now 15-0. Let's check them around the grounds for Footy Tab on the Mitsubishi scoreboard. Tony Peters.
Western Suburbs 14, Canterbury 12.
Ross Allen.
East 16, Newcastle 10.
Mark Cashman.
Manly 18, Souths 4.
Brian Surtees.
Illawarra 24, Penrith 6.
Ian Trent.
Australia 30, France 18.
Okay, it's a cricket match at Ballymore. Right now, it's Canberra in possession of the football, and they're inside their own quarter line at the moment.
Yeah, Matthew Wood, a jinking run, starts to go again through the gap. He's beat 4 or 5, gives it back now to Bradley Clyde. Clyde again with ready, the one-arm cock to offload, couldn't get it away. But Meninga gives it to Stewart. He sends another long one right out there to Laurie Daly. Straightens up the attack, and Daly now is knocked to the ground. 8 metres over the halfway line. It goes across this time to Wallace. He races around like a chook with his head chopped off that time, and he's easy meat for Jarvis, who set him up and really put him away. He'll feel that one up very slowly, and he nearly goes down again, but Daly steps around from the back of the ruck, getting a kick down to Conlon, far too hard, and again out the door. Well, that was far too hard, and the referee said that one was an easy one.
Well, these North Sydney youngsters are finding it hard today. We've already got out of the game Jason Martin, now Mark Soden, their halfback, and a real trier in this North Sydney side is down and just jogging back to his position now. Just news from the football stadium. Matthew Ridge has got his 50th point inside his 4th game of rugby league. 3.5 games for 50 points. Unbelievable.
Yep,
okay, North Sydney in possession of the football now, and they get a penalty, and it's for hanging on to the man playing the ball there. 15-0 to the Canberra side over North Sydney here at North Sydney Oval. Sideline eye, Tony McGay.
Oh, lightweights against heavyweights. Martin out of the game, Soden groggy. They've been doing a lot of work, but it's taken its toll.
Yeah, it certainly has. Canberra, as Warren Ryan said, really haven't pressed the go button yet. They haven't had any need to, but North Sydney, to their credit, still fighting hard and making some sort of a match of it. They desperately need a try, though. They want a converted try, and they need it quick smart.
Yeah, Billy Moore up now to play the ball. Back it goes to McPhail and then on to Soden. Soden turns it back to Adrian Till, but he is creamed by strong defence from Gary Coyne. Now it's French in there at dummy half. He's big, like a big forward too, struggling to get away from Coyne. Couldn't even get up to the quarter line as he's knocked to the ground. Plays it to McPhail. It goes across to Soden. Oh, out to David Fairley. I thought it may have been a touch forward, but he gives it back now to Billy Moore. Races through, puts a kick on.
Oh, high tackle.
Well, wasn't ever.
Gee.
What's he going to do? He's not going to pull it up. He's just... Well, he is now.
No, here comes the touch, Judge.
Well,
Gee.
that was McGowan. The pinch was for McGowan not getting off the man Stewart. They've said something, and the referee again has gone back and given Canberra another 10 metres.
Well, I can't believe he's missed that high tackle on the North Sydney player. and it was by David Woods. The number 8 for Canberra, I suspect it was Woods.
Well, he's going to be called up. The touch, he hasn't missed it. You're right.
Well,
No, it's Lazarus, Peter. No, it's Woods. He's called
Woods.
him up now. Well, Lazarus walked up.
yeah, you know, I've got no doubts that it was David Woods, and it was a high tackle. How the referee missed it, I'll never know. And it was to Billy Moore.
Oh,
and,
he pulled it back.
Yeah, he pulled it back. It was still a high tackle. You're kidding. And,
You're kidding.
No, I'm not kidding. Sideline eye, Tony McGay. You're blind, Greg.
Yeah.
Nothing between the heads
Yeah.
except sawdust between the ears.
Whatever you say.
Yeah, that I know whatever I say.
Okay.
If you don't reckon, well, he tackled him around the...
hit him on the shoulder and pulled it
Sideline
back.
eye, Tony McGay. You saw that.
Well, it was a high tackle, but it was also off the ball. The linesman should have seen that. Woods, he was very, very lucky.
Yeah, there it is. So Hartley wrong
Yeah.
again. What's new?
Yeah.
Pussycat.
Back now to Gary Belcher. You're the pussycat wanting to pull that up. Put dresses on him after that one.
Put dresses on.
Back to Wallers. Gives it across now to David Woods, the poor man. Hard done by on that occasion as he's knocked
He
to the
wasn't
ground.
hard done by. He didn't even get a penalty
No,
against
but he
him.
got a caution because you gave him up.
Yeah, I gave him up all right.
Back it goes to Ricky Stewart, out wide to Daly. Daly good pass to Meninga, shows it back to Daly, decides to go on his own, fends off one, picks up Coyne. Coyne tries to go forward, wrapped up by Florimo, right on the halfway line. Oh, he's muffed to play the ball. Play on? No. He said no. He's going to put the scrum down. The referee and is correct in doing so.
It was a terrible play, the ball. For Footy Tab, on the Mitsubishi scoreboard, it's 15-0 here. Let's check them around the grounds with some tidies. Tony Peters.
Western Suburbs 20, Canterbury 12.
Go the Maggies. Ross Allen in Newcastle.
East 16, Newcastle 10.
Mark Cashman.
Manly 20, South 8.
Brian Surtees.
Illawarra 24, Penrith 6.
Ian Trent.
Australia 33, France 18.
Okay, back at North Sydney Oval. The Bears in possession, 40 metres out from the place they can't get over this afternoon, the Canberra goal line.
Fairly in possession. 35 metres out from the Canberra goal line. He's up the play at the McPhail at dummy half. Gives it across to Soden. Wide it goes this time into Florimo's possession, but he's wrapped up by Coyne. We'll play it once again. French has knocked it on from the back of the ruck. A simple knock on that one.
They can't get any momentum going at all, this North Sydney side. They can't get the momentum going at all.
This scrum now to go down the feet, of course, to Ricky Stewart, coming up slowly behind the Canberra pack to pick up the football. Hawks up there now. The scrum is going down. The feed is on. Canberra have won the scrum, but the referee again not happy with it, and he's called them back. He's telling the North Sydney backs to get onside. As we see Ricky Stewart walking up to the tunnel again. A little screwed the scrum. He's wait till it straightens up. It does that. Again, Canberra winning it. Ricky Stewart trying to go through the gap, but Florimo's there to pull him down. 40 metres out from the Canberra goal line.
15 minutes gone in the second half. 11-0 to Canberra at half-time. It is now a scoreline of 15 points to 0. Canberra a couple of metres short of the halfway mark. They appear to have put the whip away. Dean Lance hitting a strong tackle as he makes it to the halfway line. It was a combined tackle from David Fairley and Pat Jarvis. Big Woods goes from dummy half and makes some good ground.
40 metres out now from the North Sydney goal line. It's played to Walters, goes across to Stewart. Good pass to Daly, tries to come back inside, and he does too. Gets rid of one or two, but eventually he does a complete somersault to go to ground. One left to go. Walters across to Stewart. Stewart getting a kick in behind the backs and chasing it downfield is Conlon and so on, but it goes over the touchline. Very good kick too.
11,537 at North Sydney Oval this afternoon. There appears more looking around this ground than 11,500, but that's the figure we've been given here at North Sydney. A crowd of 11,537, Canberra 15, North Sydney a big duck egg at the moment, and the Raiders deep inside the quarter area of North Sydney. Scrum feed to the North Sydney halfback Mark Soden.
Yeah, well, the scrum is not even packed yet. The referee's still waiting. Soden up now. He feeds it, and it's a North Sydney scrum win. Soden from the back of the scrum gives it out to Conlon. Conlon tries up for a bit of a strong run, but he's well and truly held up. They couldn't put him to ground.
Greg, I'm just looking at the North Sydney coach, Steve Martin, high up in the tower down at the southern end of the ground, and he's sending plenty of messages down to his trainer, but I think the only message he can send out is to just keep hammering away up the centre of the rucks. They're not going to split them out wide, and it's only Florimo that's made one of the few breaks today. It's more likely to come from Moore or Fairley around that ruck area, but North Sydney today just outclassed, not sort of outplayed all that much, but just lacking in a bit of class against this against this Canberra Raiders side. And they are the reigning champions, and you can see why every time you watch them play. Sideline eye, Tony McGay.
Steve Martin's asked for a net in case he has to jump.
Yeah, he certainly has. Let's check the scores for Footy Tab on the Mitsubishi scoreboard. Tony Peters.
Western Suburbs 20, Canterbury 12.
Ross Allen.
East 16, Newcastle 10.
That's an upset coming up. Mark Cashman.
Manly 20, South 10, and David Lydiard has been sent off on a head-high tackle charge.
Okay, Brian Surtees.
Yes, Illawarra 24, Penrith 6.
24-6. Okay, continued play here now, and it's Canberra in possession of the football.
Out to Ricky Stewart, good pass on to Daly again, shows it, tries to go through the gap, turns it back inside to Martin, steps another couple of North's defenders to Meninga now. Meninga's got Daly with him, he turns it inside to Laurie Daly now again, chips off the end of the toe, he's been tripped, no risk in the world. What's he going to do?
Yes, he's coming back to give the penalty. The penalty given, and it's to the Canberra Raiders. Let's go back to Mark Cashman at the Sydney Football Stadium. Mark, David Lydiard off on a head-high tackle charge, you said?
That's right, Zorba, and just from the ensuing play from the penalty, Phil Blake has scored in the corner. The score is now Manly 20, South 14 with a kick to come.
Okay.
Looks like going right down the wire here.
Okay, 20-14, so a controversial decision. How did the tackle look?
I thought he caught him around the shoulders and it slipped up onto his neck.
Okay, so there it is from Mark Cashman at the Sydney Football Stadium. Manly 20, Souths 14. Souths with a kick to come. Bruce Sinclair off here. Gary Larson on for the North Sydney side.
And Canberra in possession after the penalty. They took the tap, but just keeping pressure on North Sydney. Not that they have to at the moment, but he's up the play at Dave Woods. It goes across now into the arms of Glenn Lazarus, striding to get to the goal line. Not far away from it either, as he'll get up the play to Walters. Walters is a dummy half, tries to go on his own. He's over the line, couldn't get it down. Harrigan.
Yes, he has.
Yes, he has. Harrigan had a look. And now he's given the try.
Yeah, no doubt about it. Steve Walters has gone in. Well, we can't tell from here. We're looking at backsides, but the referee has awarded the try. And Steve Walters burrowing like a little beaver, and he did get. Oh, he looked as though he almost lost it. But the referee has given the try. Harrigan was in the in-goal area, and he struggled. Gee, that play the ball was very slow from Lazarus, and he went very low. The referee got low and then got around the other side and awarded the try. Had a look at his touch judges and gave it. But a lot of players under there. The North Sydney players were complaining, and for a moment there it looked as though Walters did lose the ball. But the referee has given the try. That's 19-0 with Steve Walters' try, and that's come in the 20th minute of the second half.
Gary Belcher on this time now for the kick at goal. The conversion of the try from Walters. 18 metres out, and he's about 20 metres in from touch.
Gee, they've tried some kickers.
Well, three.
Four.
Who's the fourth?
Meninga, Wood, Daly, and Belcher's the fourth.
Belcher's the fourth, and the goal is on. He's got another two. He can do no wrong, Gary Belcher, this afternoon.
Belcher, 1 out of 1, and as Tony McGay said, why hasn't he been given a kick before? Okay, scoreline here now, 21-0. Gary Belcher, the conversion for the Canberra Raiders this afternoon, 21-0 on the Mitsubishi scoreboard. Steve Mills on for Canberra, for Bradley Clyde. So Clyde's off, the test player, and Steve Mills on.
And also, as you said, Larson on for North Sydney. And back at the halfway line, getting it underway once again, Conlon. Going to be taken this time in right back in the own quarter. That was Mills for the Canberra side. He's immediately pulled to ground. We'll get up the play it back. It goes to Walters. Good pass out to Coyne, to back to Meninga. Flicks it out the back door once again to Walters. They can just do nothing wrong, this Canberra side, but he's going to be held up this time. We'll play the ball, and it's Big Lazarus charging forward. He's taken over the top that time by McGowan. We'll play it 40 metres out from his own goal line. Back to Walters, gives it across to Dean Lance once again. Lance wrapped up centre field. He'll play it about 8 metres short of the halfway line. Moore was the tackler. Back it goes now to Ricky Stewart. A long pass over to Belcher. Tries to get around one. Gives it back to Dave Woods in support, and Woods charging forward too. One tackle left to go. They're 38 metres out from the North Sydney goal line. It goes across to Meninga from dummy half out to Belcher. Belcher around a 1 or 2 hours. Still going. He looks back inside. Beautiful pass over the top, and Ricky Stewart again scores for the Canberra side. It's a carve up now.
Well, it's a carve up, all right. It's 25-0, and there are still 18 minutes left for play. And this Canberra side running hot now. A brilliant try to Ricky Stewart. Good play by the Canberra side, and there was no doubt about it. Gary Belcher, what a genius. The pass over the top of some tired North Sydney defence to Ricky Stewart, and he's gone in and scored his second try of the game. 25-0, and let's go down now to the Australian lock forward, Bradley Clyde, and he's downstairs on the sideline. Gary Belcher lining this one up, and Bradley, how are you, son? Is it just fatigue and just giving you a rest for the test, or what?
Yeah, I think so. I think that's why I come off at this stage. I've had a bit of a sore foot, but it's all right, and I'm looking forward to Wednesday.
Okay, so you're okay, mate? No problems at all?
No, I think Tim brought me off just to give me a bit of a rest, I suppose, but the boys are doing the job out there, and they're going very well.
Well, they certainly are. Gary Belcher just putting the conversion right between the uprights. That's 27-0. Bradley, you straight out very well today. It's been a very good win for the boys. A win coming up.
Yeah, we knew North would be very tough, and they come out firing, and we had to be on the ball today, and we come out very enthusiastic, and I think the boys should be pretty pleased with the way they've gone.
Well, they certainly have. As you said, North Sydney played with plenty of spirit, only 11-0 at half-time, and you guys have had to work pretty hard to get the victory.
Oh, they're a very good side, and they deserve to have the respect of all the players playing against them.
Okay, your side going from strength to strength. You've got a big week. Australia versus France on Wednesday, and all being well, the Broncos at Lang Park next Sunday. What a beauty.
Yeah, that'll be a very big game for the Raiders, and I think they're all looking forward to the game. I know the people up in Brisbane are. Okay, good luck on Wednesday, young fellow. You're going great. Thank you. There he is, Bradley Clyde. What a super young player in rugby league he is. And that's good work by Tim Sheens to take him off and give him a rest. He's got a big game on Wednesday and again next Sunday. And they're in no danger here, 27-0. Let's check them for footy tab on the Mitsubishi scoreboard. Tony Peters.
A thriller this one, West 20, Canterbury 18.
Okay, Ross Allen, Newcastle.
East 16, Newcastle 10.
Mark Cashman.
An absolute thriller here, Manly 20, South 14.
Okay, Brian Surtees.
Illawarra 24, Penrith 12.
Ian Trent.
Australia 39, France 22.
Okay, cricket match that. The rugby. North Sydney in possession.
Florimo giving it back to Conlon, coming through on the burst, but again pulled down by Daly. Up the flat, McGowan's at dummy half. He sends it across this time to Moore. Tried to get through the gap, but he's knocked to the ground. Had support there with him too as he went down. Larson at dummy half. From that position, he charges back down into the Canberra quarter line. Getting up the flat, Paddy Jarvis is a dummy half. Doesn't even look. Just had a look to push off Paul Martin, but to no avail. He'll play it now to Peter McPhail. Turns it back inside to little Soden up there again, trying to go through the big pack of forwards from Canberra. McPhail goes across a long time to Florimo. Out there to Fairley. Then to McGowan. A long pass across the hall. Chips off 1 foot. Comes back. Oh, it's going to be a try. A float try on the far side to McGowan.
McGowan's the try scorer for North Sydney, and the Bears at long last 27-4 here at North Sydney, and it's given the cheer girls something to wave their streamers about. It was North Sydney along the back line from Florimo, and it then went to Fairley out wide to support, and it ended up in the hands of Hall. Hall grubber kicked. It came off a Canberra player, and in for the try went the replacement player for Jason Martin, and that is Steve McGowan, the Englishman.
Okay, the kick to be taken. 28 metres out from the Canberra goal line. Fluke try that one on the far side now. We have Conlon to try and convert the McGowan try. He's 28 metres out from the goal line.
And his first kick of the game coming in the 66th minute of the game.
As I said, 28 metres out, more or less on that touch line. There was only centimetres between the touch in goal, and McGowan scored that try. But very hastily, he has the ball placed now. Paul Conlon, one of the North Sydney Bears, as he comes in now. Oh, and he's changed his mind. He's just come up to redo the ball. Remount it, whatever they do. The goal kickers, what do you do when you
I hope he's not going to remount the ball, Ollie. I've never seen that.
Well, you know what I mean.
Yeah, I don't know what you mean.
Replacing it well. How does that grab you?
Bit better than remount.
Okay, there it goes. Oh, he's kicked it. He's actually kicked the goal. Great kick from Paul Conlon.
27 points to 6 on the Mitsubishi scoreboard. Great conversion by Conlon. His first attempt today. 27 points to 6 on the Mitsubishi Electric scoreboard. For footy tab, let's check those closies around the grounds. Tony Peters.
West 20, Canterbury 18. West with a kick in front.
Okay, Ross Allen, Newcastle.
Ashley Gordon scores under the post and converts his try. Newcastle and East 16 all.
Okay, Mark Cashman.
This has developed into an absolutely sensational match. Manly 20, South 20.
Manly 20, South 20. Brian Surtees at the Wollongong Showground.
Where it's Penrith looking like they're scoring. It's 24 points to 12 in favour of Illawarra, and Penrith are in.
Okay, Ian Trent.
No one tackles in rugby union. Australia 42, France 22.
Okay, some amazing scorelines in the rugby league this afternoon. Manly led 16-4 at half-time, and it's now 20 all against Souths. David Lydiard sent off.
Larson in possession for the North Sydney Bears, 8 short of the halfway line. Hauls it dummy half now out to Adrian Toole. And Daly comes in with a beautiful tackle to pull him down. He'll play it now to McPhail to Soden. Soden elects to kick. They're all on, says the referee. And a high one for Gary Belcher. Oh, he takes it beautifully. 10 out from his own goal line. Goes across field. This time he's going to be knocked down on his own quarter line. And a strong tackle too over the top from David Fairley. And also French. Ferguson's at dummy half. He gives it across to Stewart. Long pass out this time to Mills. Mills can only manage to get up nearly to his own quarter line before he's held up by McGowan. He'll play it this time to Walters. Walters again decides to go on his own. And good strong burst for 10 metres for the Raiders. Up to play it back into the arms of Lazarus. Tries to get around one. McPhail dives at him. He can't get him. Adrian Toole is left there to take him with Florimo. He'll play it 5 metres short of the halfway line. Still in Raider territory. It goes across to Ricky Stewart. Out to Daly once again. Long pass across this time to Belcher to Matthew Wood. Look at this kid scoot. He's got Belcher on the inside. Doesn't need him. Gives it back to Ferguson. Ferguson around 1 or 2. And Ferguson not held. Gets up to play the ball. No. He passes to Gary Belcher. Chicka Ferguson not held. And Belcher goes in to score. A magnificent try. The Grace brothers try the round.
Yeah, it's a beautiful try by Gary Belcher. And old Chicka Ferguson deeply involved. It went right along the Canberra back line on their own side of halfway. Magnificent passing by the Canberra side. It was Daly on to Belcher, and Belcher on to Matthew Wood. Wood ran strongly. He was tackled. Got the pass inside to Ferguson. Ferguson went. He was tackled. He bounced up like a rubber ball. He got the ball away to Gary Belcher, and Belcher had a smile on his face as he raced in and just put the ball down for a simple try. And the scoreline here is now 31 points to 4 with a kick to come from the Canberra side. 31 to 4, and there are 10 minutes left for play.
And Gary Belcher will try and convert his own try. That was a magnificent try, as Zorba said. Started way back in their own territory. Fantastic acceleration from Matthew Wood. Boy,
okay, Mal Meninga and Laurie Daly off for the Canberra side now. Meninga and Daly off. And Meninga giving signals to the players, to Lazarus, to say to keep going. So it's 31 to 4. Stuart Stanton and Michael Twigg are the players on.
Okay, and the kick now to be coming from the boot of Gary Belcher, just a shade inside the North Sydney quarter line. Belcher comes in now. Distance is no problem. Got it straight over the bar, Gary Belcher. Magoo, spot on.
Yeah, well, 3 out of 3. Why wasn't he given the kicks earlier in the game? 33 points to 4 now. Gary Belcher is the only Australian rep still left on the field. He's got to do the goal kicking. 3 out of 3. Let's check the scores from other grounds. Tony Peters.
Sensational. Western Suburbs have just gone in. Western Suburbs 26, Canterbury 18. West with a kick to come.
Okay, Ross Allen in Newcastle.
2 sensational tries to Ashley Gordon has turned this match right around. Newcastle 22, East 16.
Mark Cashman.
What a ripper match here at the stadium. Manly 20, South 20.
Brian Surtees.
Yes, and they're coming back, the Panthers. Illawarra 24, Penrith 18.
Okay, they're coming home. Ian Trent.
Australia 42, France 28.
Okay, at the cricket. And here we are now back at North Sydney Oval. Canberra in possession of the football on their own quarter line. They haven't spent too much time down that end of the park. 33 to 4 this afternoon. This has been a runaway.
It sure has, and a long ball across this time into... it's Matthew Twigg, I think, in number... No, that was Stanton in 17. Twiggs in 19, Peter. So he plays the ball back to Walters again. He takes off, tries to get up towards the halfway line before being pulled down. Coins a dummy half. He has a look out wide, gives it to Ricky Stewart. Stewart now gets his kick downfield too. No one at home on the far side of the ground for North Sydney. And it's going to go over the touchline, way down the far end, about 8 metres out from the North Sydney goal line.
Okay, we'll keep checking those scores around the grounds. There's some close ones there for footy tap punters today on the Mitsubishi scoreboard. Tony Peters.
Western Suburbs 26, Canterbury 18.
Okay, Ross Allen, Newcastle.
Newcastle 22, East 16.
Mark Cashman.
Manly 20, South 20.
Brian Surtees.
It's 24 points to 18, and they're attacking strongly.
Okay, who?
Penrith.
Okay. I should have known from Brian's voice. It's now North Sydney in possession, a few metres out from their own goal line.
Fairley the man in possession of the ball, inside his own quarter line and pulled to the ground. It's played now back to McPhail again, out into the arms this time of the big man charging to onto the ball, Adrian Toole. He's pulled down, he'll get up now to play the ball. Back it goes this time to Paddy Jarvis, one of the workers this afternoon. But over the top was Walters.
7 minutes remaining here at North Sydney Oval. 33 to 4 in favour of Canberra over North Sydney. North trying hard but outclassed.
Yeah, Soden now. Long pass across into the arms this time of... who is it getting up now? Adrian Toole to play it. Now it's to Larson. Back to Soden. Soden 11 metres out from his 11 metres out from the quarter line, gets a long kick downfield. Belcher goes across to take it. Will get it to 2 metres from his own goal line. He turns. Plenty of defence down there from North Sydney. Gives it back to Ferguson. Ferguson now wrapped up 15 metres out from his own goal line.
Phil Carey about to go on for the Canberra Raiders side. Let's check those scores around the grounds. This one's over. Tony Peters at Campbelltown.
Western Suburbs 26, Canterbury 18.
Ross Allen, Newcastle.
Newcastle 22, East 16.
Mark Cashman at the football stadium.
Manly 20, South 20.
Brian Surtees.
Yes, it's Illawarra 24, Penrith 18.
Ian Trent.
Australia 42, France 31.
Okay, 73 points scored in that test match.
Oh, and Canberra going through, picking out the ball, Mills, but the referee, there was a knock on. The referee, correct on that occasion, is going to bring back the football to the 40-metre line, Canberra's end of the ground. Put a scrum down, and we've got a touch there, John. I didn't see him untoward there. Maybe just saying Carey's going on.
Carey going on and
Belcher.
And Belcher coming off. So all the Australian reps off. Magnificent game from Gary Belcher today. What a tremendous performer he is for the Canberra Raiders and for Australia, and a marvellous player in rugby league. Tremendous game. He's so nonchalant, and he's certainly one of the great players of the game, Gary Belcher. And Belcher today, a magnificent performance from him. And 5 minutes in the sin bin now for Paul Martin. But Canberra lead by 33-4, and Gary Belcher, congratulations. Another tremendous win by the Premiers this afternoon.
Thanks, Zorba. We're a lot happier with today's performance, mate. We've been playing pretty well in patches, but dropping off in our intensity. I don't think today's dropped off once. North scored a try, but it was a lucky bounce of the ball.
Yeah, well, can you tell me why you didn't get on for a kick earlier? You got 3 out of 3, and they gave 3 guys a kick before you.
Mate, I wish I could hit me 2 wood that well.
Yeah, beautifully.
It's about time. I've been hitting them very ordinary lately, mate, so we've got some good kickers in the side.
Yeah, here's Soden in for a try, is he? No, just short of it. Gary, we're going through Triple SFM in Canberra, and certainly they must be thrilled with your form down there. The Raiders in the premiership at the moment, looking good. You're back on top, and you've got a couple of big games. I was just talking to Bradley Clyde a few moments ago. You've got a test match on Wednesday, and then a game I know you're looking forward to as well against the Broncos at Lang Park.
Yeah, certainly looking forward to them both, Zorba. Important matches, of course, the test midweek, but more importantly from our club's point of view is to beat the Broncos. I think they're only just a point behind us, so it's going to be a very tough match there up in Brisbane next week.
Yeah, and I know you like playing at Lang Park, this time against most of your teammates from State of Origin football, but it's going to be there's North's in for a try. Fairly in for a try. That's made it a scoreline of 33-8 with Fairley scoring, and that's typical, isn't it, Gary, that North Sydney have tried all day?
Yeah, they've had a go. Certainly, they haven't let up. I think our defence has been very strong, and it's made it tough for them. But they, they haven't dropped their bundle. And full credit to them. It's a bit disappointing from our point of view that they've scored a late try, because that's been one of our problems in the last few weeks. We'll work on it again.
Yeah, it has. You really gave the Western Suburbs side a chance to come back into it last week, and I suppose with all the players you've taken out of the game today, that it's understandable.
Yeah, it is. We've had a lot of, it's been a hard, 5 or 6 weeks with all the rep duties. Of course, after Wednesday, that's it until the test against New Zealand. So we can just concentrate on club footy. And I think there might have been some really relieved players out there today that we came up with a good performance.
Okay then, mate. Thanks for talking to us. Good luck on Wednesday and again next week.
Thanks, Zorba.
Okay, there he is. Great player, isn't he? And that's Gary Belcher. And today, 3 out of 3 for Belch in the goal-kicking department. And it's 33-10. Let's check them around the grounds. Tony Peters at Campbelltown.
No change. Western Suburbs 26, Canterbury 18.
Ross Allen.
Newcastle 28, East 16.
28-16. Mark Cashman.
Manly 26, South 20.
Manly 26, South 20. Brian Surtees.
Illawarra 24, Penrith 22, 4.5 to go.
Oh, Brian, hang on to your hat down there in Wollongong. 24-22 after Illawarra led 18 points to 0. Australia 42, France 31. Okay, back at North Sydney Oval. It is the North Sydney side in possession of the football a few metres out from their own goal line.
Yes, and going forward too, right up to his own quarter line. Adrian Toole, centre field. He'll get up the play. Back to McPhail. Across now to Fairley. Fairley tries to make a break. He gives it out this time to Fritz Florimo. He's flying down the far touch line. Chips up over the top. Ferguson in full flight. Everyone back there, and he gets to the ball first. Chicker Ferguson, 12 metres out from his own goal line. That was a sprint and a half. Now Stanton's at dummy half, but it goes straight through his arms. Picked up this time by Dean Lance, and Dean Lance goes to ground 18 metres away from his own goal line. Steve Wallace is a dummy half, but Dean Lance has hurt himself as he went to ground there. Couldn't see any gun toward in that tackle by Paddy Jarvis, but Walters has been told to take the football off him as Dean Lance lays there.
Okay, our 2GB Mad Barry's man of the match, Gary Belcher. We've spoken to him. 2 points to Steve Walters today and 1 to Ricky Stewart. All to the Raiders, and we'll try and grab Ricky Stewart at full time. He's had a magnificent game too for the Canberra Raiders this afternoon. An awesome sight. They lead by 33 points to 10. Norths have tried hard. It was 11-0 at half time. Let's check those scores around the grounds. Tony Peters.
Western Suburbs 26, Canterbury 18. The Magpies, a try disallowed.
Okay, Ross Allen, Newcastle.
Well, Newcastle in under the posts again. A kick to come. Newcastle 32, East 16.
Gee, East have stopped there. Mark Cashman at the stadium.
Manly have toughed this one out. Manly 26, South 20.
How long to go there, Mark?
Under 5 minutes, Zorba.
Okay, Brian Surtees at the Wollongong Showground.
Yes, it's Illawarra 24 leading Penrith 22.
Okay, Ian Trent at the cricket.
Australia 46 with a kick to come. France 31.
Okay, so 77 points scored in a test match. Fair dinkum. I don't believe that. Okay, here we go. Full time here, and Canberra 33 have beaten North Sydney 10 here at North Sydney Oval. Tries for the Canberra side, 2 to Ricky Stewart, 1 to John Ferguson, Paul Martin and Gary Belcher and Steve Walters. 3 from 3 to Gary Belcher, 1 from 2 to Laurie Daly, none from 1 to Mal Meninga and none from 1 to Matthew Wood. For North Sydney, tries to Steve McGowan and to David Fairley, 1 from 2 to Paul Conlon. The scrums 8-5 to North Sydney over the Canberra side, and the penalties were also North Sydney's way by 6-4. Our 2GB Mad Barry's man of the match was Gary Belcher. 3 points to him, 2 points to Steve Walters and 1 to Ricky Stewart. A tremendous game of football this afternoon here at North Sydney Oval. If you're a Canberra Raiders supporter, not so good for the Bears, but there's Bradley Clyde staying on the field, this young fellow, to sign autographs. Unbelievable, these young fellows in the game today, signing autographs, and to wait and congratulate the North Sydney players as they come from the field too. He's a fine competitor. Mal Meninga out there in the green blanket around him, and he is swamped by kids, the Australian captain. Let's go now and talk to a grand performer today in the Canberra side. He picked up 2 tries. He was a danger all day. He's a magnificent performer, and